Welcome to podcast-15. Welcome to a new lab, and today we'll deal with uh, IoT device data stream, which will go through a set of AWS services. And we have Malek with us, Malek Amri. She will present her lab, and it will be really interesting. Some services are really straightforward, some of them are really, they need configuration, and it's a pleasure to go through those steps and achieve a lab within, let's say, 15 minutes. Malak, is it okay?
Yeah, so we're going to
Yes,
work on
please.
that.
Okay.
15 minutes would be great for the first lab together. So, as it was said in the introduction, I am Malek Amri, and today we are going to present this beautiful cycle that our data are going to go through. So, this will be the first part of this podcast 15. So, we're going to go up until the S3 part of the cycle, and then the Lambda and DynamoDB part will be presented in the next episode. So, but to start, of course, I'm going to present the whole cycle. So, the project we're presenting today is about an IoT device, a virtual IoT device that's going to send MQTT messages to IoT Core. In these messages, there will be different information that are transmitted by the device, such as the device ID, the temperature, pressure, etc. So these messages will be sent to IoT Core, which is an AWS service, and from IoT Core through message routing, the data will be transmitted to S3 after an application of a rule. The rule is
Mhm.
basically an application of an SQL statement on our data to filter the data before storing it in an S3 bucket. And
Yeah.
once there's this action of a put in the S3 bucket, the
Mhm.
Lambda function will be triggered, and we through code we're going to place the JSON files in the S3 bucket into a NoSQL database, which is going to be done through the DynamoDB service
Okay.
in AWS. So that's basically the beautiful cycle that the beautiful journey that our data will be going through.
So, Malek, let me just clarify something here in this small lab. How many services are there? So, I count IoT Core. You have AWS S3 bucket with a storage service within AWS. We have Lambda. We have DynamoDB, and we have a set of permission which will be applied, I mean, and we need them to let those services work in harmony. So yes, so
Exactly,
at
to
least at
interact
least
with each other. Yeah,
yes, we have five services within. Yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, it's
within
amazing.
one lab, definitely.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yeah,
I'm
so
listening.
let's go ahead and start. So, this whole project was programmed in code spaces. So, it's basically, sorry, like here. So, I'm going to start code spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, code space is basically like a virtual machine on GitHub
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to fork or push or put any of your project files in GitHub and then execute these files
So
directly on GitHub
yeah.
thanks to Codespace. So you don't have to download your project files locally in your
Mm-hmm.
computer to execute the code. So you can do it
So,
right away in
so
GitHub.
we encourage the audience to go through GitHub code space and
Definitely.
get benefit of those 60 hours per month.
Of course,
And
so to
yes,
everyone that has a GitHub account can use CodeSpace, and the first 60 hours of CodeSpace are free, so you
free of
can definitely
charge.
use that, and it's actually
Yeah.
very beneficial. I've been using it, and it's great. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yes,
So
I
here
use
our
it
code
for
is.
I used Scott Space for a while, and really I cannot get rid of it. So it's amazing tool, and everything is really ready to use from Python to Node to any. It's a Docker. It's a Docker container here. Yeah. So this IDE which you have here, it's a Docker container with the two cores machine and 8 gigabyte of RAM, I guess, and 32 gigabyte of hard disk storage. I mean, storage is better than hard disk, I guess. Yeah, Malek. Yeah, go please.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So definitely very very good tool.
project.
Yeah, so this is our project. So everything was already coded. So to use this code and allow this code to access the different AWS services, you need to have your environment variables. Either you can write them right away in your code or store them as environment variables on GitHub, and that's what I did here. So in code space secrets, you can create different environment variables and store the different information related to your AWS account console to be able
Yes,
to
amazing.
do this back and forth message sending to from the
So
IoT
we
thing
have
to
hit
IoT core.
the IoT endpoint, right? This is where the
Yeah,
message
so this is
will.
the IoT endpoint. So you have to, of
Yeah.
course, create an IoT thing first, and then that will give you the yeah and get the endpoint of
So
the.
this endpoint is ready and to use, and we have only one IoT endpoint. Can you show us, please, the IoT endpoint, Malek?
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
it should be in.
in
I don't know where
domain,
domain is.
yeah,
Oh,
because
it's
the
here.
interface it get changing. Yeah, it's it used to be in the settings before.
So
Yeah,
this
now
is
it's here. Yes,
the
you are
endpoint.
absolutely right. It used to be in settings down, down, then they changed the interface. So this is the
Yeah,
endpoint. Yeah. Okay, great.
yeah,
Ah.
definitely. So that's your endpoint. You can store it as an environment variable, or you can write it right away in your code, like I did here. You can do whichever works for
Good.
you. And then you can also store your key, your access key, the region that you chose, and the secret key, secret access key. So
Yes,
yeah, all of this
this is
information
necessary
can be
to
retrieved
use
from.
AWS CLI. Right, right, absolutely right.
Yes.
Okay,
So we can come back to our code and have a look at it. Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
our code. Can you explain what does this code do exactly?
Yeah, so basically what this code does is send MQTT messages to IoT Core, and
Okay.
of course there was an IoT thing that was created first,
Yes.
and upon creation of an IoT thing, you can download the different certificates and confidential information of your IoT thing, which
Yes.
are the private key, the certificate, and the Amazon.
I can see them. So those certificates you stored on the dot cert there. So this is your certificates on the
Exactly,
margin.
they're here. You
Yes.
have
So
the,
you have
as I said, the certificate, the
absolutely
private key, and the Amazon root. And
yes.
these are, you can download these the moment you create an
So you
IoT
are
thing
using them to get connected to the thing and send your payload MQTT message payload.
to
Yes.
IoT Core.
So
Exactly.
what did you do with the certificates exactly? Because I can see here secret manager client here. So you are loading a library. Can you explain? Go
Yeah,
and
so
explain.
this information is, well, confidential information. So to keep
Yeah.
it safe, you can directly, well, the safest thing you can do is store it in Secret Manager, and then once you need it, you can just go to Secret Manager and
Ah.
grab the information you need, and it's stored in a safe way, and you don't just have to copy
So,
paste it. So
question. So if I have to develop, for example, an IoT, a virtual IoT or a real device, if I would like to get benefit of those certificates, I just connect to Secret Manager, of course, after I have the
exactly,
permission
you connect to Secret
built.
Manager and you can retrieve all of the
Okay, this is
information.
wonderful. Yeah, this is
Exactly. And the other great thing you can do is encrypt it with a rotation. You can choose if this information is too confidential. Maybe you want to change the encryption every 1 or 2 weeks, and it depends on your need. You might want to change it every month.
mhm.
So we can have a look at that if you.
Yes.
So we can
Hmm.
come here and look at Secrets Manager over here in the console. And so you can create a secret. You can name it whatever you want. I named it IoT Think
Think
Cert
cert
Prod.
prod, yeah.
And then you can over here retrieve secret value. So this
And
obviously when you do this, don't show it to anyone.
mhm.
We're doing it just to show you what it looks like. But of course, it's going to be disabled after that, and a new thing will be
It's
created.
clear. Yeah.
So over here, you can see this is your private key, your cert, and your Amazon root. And of course, as I mentioned, you can choose a rotation, and this is going to encrypt the secret information
On a
according
special
to the rotation
schedule.
on a special
Yes.
schedule, depending on your choice, the rotation you choose.
Clear.
So yeah,
Yes.
so they're safe here. They are safely stored here, and when we need them, we can just simply call them,
Yes.
and that's what we did in this script.
So let's go through those code and just explain it roughly. I mean, yeah, because it's
Yeah,
I can see a lot of comment here, so anybody can read it and get a
get the complete
good
idea of
explanation.
it.
Yeah, of what does this code?
Yeah.
Yes, please go.
Yeah. So first of all, this is so we're getting the region, the IoT endpoint, and well,
Mm-hmm.
they're environment variables. So you can either get it from the environment variable, so that from the environment variables we created on
Yes.
GitHub,
So
or
you
you
are
can just
in.
write it yourself. You can
So
do
I can
whichever.
see that you are in Europe North One. Okay.
Yes, and always make sure that you keep everything in the same region. So if
Yeah.
you're creating a Lambda function and an S3 bucket, and one is in a region and the other is in another
Mm-hmm.
region, you will face issues making the Lambda function access the S3 bucket, for example.
Yes.
So make sure that all services you create are in the same region. So yeah, the region
Yes.
we're
Yes.
using here is
So
Stockholm.
here in the line 22, almost you don't need that or because it will be initialized. It will be set to
Right away,
yes right away.
exactly.
Okay, that's clear enough. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, and this is the endpoint and the secret name. So the
Yes.
secret name is the one that I showed you earlier. It's the IoT
Mm-hmm.
Think Cert that we
Yes. Yeah,
saw
that one.
together. That
Yes, I
one,
can.
yes.
It's clear.
So it's used to access the secret information that we saw together
Yeah,
earlier.
okay. You initialize a dictionary there. This is a device
Exactly.
sensor map.
Yeah, and
Mm,
as we mentioned, these IoT devices are virtual IoT devices. So most of the MQTT messages that are being sent are messages with random values. In a
mhm.
real case scenario, of course, we're going to have real IoT devices sending
Okay.
real information. But here, just for this case study, in this first test, we are generating random values. So
Yes.
so yeah, for example,
This
over
for
here, the
sensors.
function returns random values for the sensor type. So it can be either temperature or pressure.
Clear. Hmm.
Um,
If it's
and then
temperature,
it's
it goes from
converted to float.
zero for minus 10 to 100. Yes.
100,
Yeah.
yeah.
And from 1 to
1 to
101 for the pressure. Yeah,
101,
it's okay.
exactly for the pressure. Um, yeah, and then we go to the main function where we are going
Ah,
to
here.
connect to our IoT. We're
Here
going
is
to
the
connect.
core. Yeah, here is the core
Exactly.
of
We are going to
the.
retrieve our secret information
Yes,
and then
that's true.
connect, and then start calling those functions that we saw earlier and sending the random
So you get an
values.
object there. It's a secret string. I can see this is the response secret string, which will contain all
Of
of
the
the
information, the
certificates, the secret
certificates,
values stored
private
in
key,
Secret
etc.
Manager. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Um,
So you parse
so
it.
this is where
Yeah.
we're getting we're
Yeah.
parsing the secret values. So as you can see, the certification, the private key, and their Amazon root.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then this is where we're creating the IoT device using the
Yes.
certificate data. And of course, we're using the MQTT
Yes.
protocol You can name it whatever you want, the client ID. And of course, you should use the private key, the client certification, the
Yes.
certification itself,
Now we
and
retrieve them, we use them
the
clearly enough.
host.
Yes.
Yes. And then we connect. So
Okay.
we
Device
connect.
one.
Once the device is connected to IoT Core, then
Mm-hmm.
we will be able to start sending messages. So the device,
Yeah.
so here we're creating random variables. We have 5 devices from device 1 to device 5.
Clear.
These
Yes.
devices are sending different information, pressure or temperature, and these devices are stored in different locations. So different warehouses. We have 3 warehouses
Warehouses.
from 1 to
Yes.
3. And this
Yes.
is our payload. So what the device is sending is basically this payload. We have the
Mm-hmm.
device ID, the sensor type, which can be temperature or pressure, the location, which is one of the warehouses, and the value of the temperature or pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
then we start to publish to IoT Core that will be subscribed, of course, to this topic. So the topic over here, we called it IoT sub, and the
IoT sub.
message will be sent every 4 seconds.
Okay. Clear.
And that's pretty much it. Now
Yes.
we went
Mm.
through the code. So important parts to receive these messages on
So,
IoT Core, we need to subscribe to this
okay.
IoT to
So
this
here
topic.
you are publishing in line 110, you are publishing a payload on this topic, which is IoT sub. We have to
Exactly, it's this
go and
payload that we
subscribe
looked at
to
here.
this topic. Yes.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to do
That's
together now.
that's I'm really curious to see how things work here. So we go to
Okay, so
uh,
we go to our console. We go to IoT Core right
IoT
here,
Core. Yes, it's
and then
already
on the
there.
left,
Mm-hmm.
we go to MQTT test client,
Yes,
and
this is
then
where
in
we
the bottom
subscribe.
we can enter the topic filter,
Mm-hmm.
and we subscribe. Over here I already had some tests, so it shows me my topic. So make sure you write the same topic, the same name.
Yes,
So IoT sub, and we subscribe. So now IoT
easy,
Core is subscribed to the same topic that
straightforward.
our IoT
We have
device
nothing
will be
right
sending
here,
messages
so
on.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now we can start testing and see if the messages are actually being received by IoT Core.
Yeah.
We should just run this code, and we're
This
going
is
to
a
see
Node.js program, and we are
Node.js
launch.
program. So
Yes.
we're running the
Ah,
code.
we have our payload
First
here. We
payload, the
are
second.
connected.
Let's just say that that's enough. Two
Two message,
messages
5 and
from the same device,
96.3.
device 4, and we can see over here that we
And
have
here we
two
are.
messages
This
received.
is, this
Perfect.
is, yeah,
So if we go
this is,
back to our scenario, we are, oops, sorry.
yeah, it's okay.
We are over here. So the messages were sent
Mm-hmm.
by the IoT device and they were received in IoT Core.
Good, good. We
So
have our
next
message.
part, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the next part we're going to do the, well, I don't know why I keep doing this.
We
Okay,
are
so this is
stretching the
better.
arrow, yeah. An
So we're
arrow,
going
and
to go through we're going to go through message routing and
good.
apply rules on
Mm-hmm.
the messages on the payload and
In
store it in
order.
an S3 bucket, of course. Yeah.
So we will store them in S3.
We're exactly.
The cheapest way to store, and benefit of a life cycle of storage maybe, but definitely it's the cheapest way to store data. I mean, in AWS. Yes, please go.
Definitely. So let's go and see how are we going to store this data in S3
Mm-hmm.
through message routing. So as you can see
Message
here,
routing. We route
right under
messages.
MQTT test client, we see message routing.
And
And then we can create a rule. So
a
you go to
rule.
rules.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to be over here. So now we're going to create our rule. As I mentioned,
Okay.
it's basically,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we create rule.
You have few active rules there. They will
Yeah, I
not
have few active old
interfere.
that I already deleted, I thought. Well, I can try
Yeah,
deleting
yeah,
them
you
now.
can deactivate them or delete them. Yeah, it's okay. You can
Yeah, let's
delete them.
just
Yeah, yeah,
delete them.
yeah. We are learning here how to delete an
Yeah.
old. Yes, good. Yeah. So
So
let's
now we're
create a
good.
rule.
Let's create
Yes.
a rule. We can name it while it's still proposing the name. So
IoT pod.
IoT podcast 15 rule. You can
Mhm.
write a rule description, but you can skip it
Description.
and
Yes.
move. So basically this is the part where we are going to specify what we would like to
This is
retrieve
a
from our
SQL
data
query. Yeah.
through an SQL statement. Yeah. So it
Well.
depends on your needs. Your IoT devices will be sending different
Mm,
information, different
mhm,
types of information, and maybe you would like to just store data
mhm.
with values that are greater than 60 degrees, for example. Or so it
Yes.
depends on your need. For our first test over here, we're going to get everything. So we're basically going to select everything
Everything.
that's being
Yes.
sent by our devices. And
Mhm.
so we don't need a where condition here because we're not filtering our data. And from, and over here, the from is going to be
Our
from
topic. So
our IoT
remember
topic.
our topic. It's IoT sub. I
It's
remember it.
IoT sub, and you should always remember the name. It should be the
Yes.
same name.
You are querying. You are querying the payload, send and publish it on this topic. This is the query. Yes.
Exactly,
It's a
exactly.
clear.
So we're
Clear.
selecting everything that's being sent, the whole
Mm-hmm.
payload being sent by each and every IoT device. And then we go to next. So the action is basically the rule is asking us, once I apply this SQL statement on the payload, where should I store the result? So basically,
Yes.
this is where we specify, okay, rule, this is where you should put the result. So the action is basically the destination. So over here, as we
So
said,
we'll
in our
go the
scenario,
bucket.
we would like to store our payload in S3
Mm-hmm.
bucket. So we're going to choose the service, which is S3. Of course, you can choose
S3.
any other service. S3 bucket. So as we chose S3 bucket, you can have thousands of S3 buckets. Here we are being asked, okay, you want me to store it in an S3 bucket.
Which
Which
S3
S3
bucket?
bucket? So that means that we should create an S3 bucket. So we're going to, I'm going to come here and go to
You have
S3
your
and
S3.
create a
Yes.
bucket.
Okay.
So we go to S3, we go to create bucket, and then I'm gonna name it
So
IoT.
this name should be unique, of course. No
Exactly.
underscore, just small letter. It's clear. It's written there. Yeah. IoT data podcast 15. Yes. Bucket.
Okay. And then we can name it. You can give it any name, of course. As you just said, we should take care. Don't use underscores, only use dashes, and don't use capital
Yes.
letters. And then you can keep everything else the way it is. Just keep it as
By
default.
default, it's blocked
And
and
create bucket.
encryption server side. Yes.
So as we
Maybe
can
we'll go
see
back
here,
one.
our bucket was
Maybe
created.
we'll go back to a lab on S3 and go through those functions and features. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, explore those features in detail. That
Yes.
would be a great
Test it.
idea for another podcast.
So
Definitely.
then,
So our bucket was created. We're going to go
yes.
back to our rule and specify which bucket we would like the rule to store the result
Yeah, we
in.
go to
So we
browse
can
and
browse and then go to IoT podcast
is there.
15 bucket
Yes.
over here, and we choose this one. So the key is basically the unique ID of every payload being sent by every
Yes. Mm.
IoT device. So over here we can use a timestamp. So which
Okay.
is basically the time at which the
Mm-hmm.
data was
The
sent
data
by
was
the
sent.
IoT
Yes.
device.
For a
Exactly, which
single
will be
device,
unique.
it's unique. Yeah, for a single device, it's unique. If we have many
Exactly.
devices, we have to take care here. Maybe we will spread them among warehouses, maybe
Different warehouses, exactly.
each
In the key, we will
types.
need to include the
Yes.
warehouse as well, so that it's
Yeah,
actually unique.
it's clear.
So that's going to be presented in a different podcast. And
Let's
then
see
we go
the
to the IAM
role.
role.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
So
here we have to give the permission to this rule to write this file into the bucket. So this is evident, obvious. So
of course,
exactly, we have to create this rule, right?
of course, of course. In AWS, any
Uh,
services to give this any two services the permission to interact with each other, whether it's through a read or a put or any changes, we need to give permission to one device to access the other.
Yeah.
I mean, one service to access the other. So that's what we're doing here. Basically, what we're doing is we're giving permission to to this rule to put the information in the payload in S3, in the S3
S3.
bucket. So we're
Yes.
going to create new rule. You're just
We'll
going
give
to
a
have to give
name.
it a name, IoT data. Let's say IoT data podcast 15 role
Role. Yes. Okay.
create. There we go. We created our role, and we can go to next. This is a quick recap. So that's the rule properties, our SQL statement where we take
Mm-hmm.
everything, the S3 bucket where we want our result to be placed, and we create.
Okay.
Exactly. And we can actually go in the IoT podcast 15 rule. And I think, no, I think we should go to IAM
Mm-hmm.
and then go to rules just to make sure that we
To
actually have the
check.
put.
To check this role you just created. Well, yeah. Okay. To go. Okay.
I
You have
think,
roles. Yeah. It's available. Roles on your left. Yeah. Roles under user
yeah,
group. Yes. You just.
exactly.
Yeah.
We go to IoT, just look at
Just type
IoT
podcast and you will
podcast
find
15
it.
rule.
Yes. You just create even by date. You can
Exactly, and we have the permissions.
just
And if
click
we
on the
click on the
plus.
policy, oh yeah, the plus,
Yeah, just
better.
here, yeah, and you will get
And
it.
then we
Yeah,
can
this is
see we
put
have put
object.
object for S3.
Yes,
Yeah.
S3, and not anywhere.
So this, not
It's
anywhere, only to
yes,
IoT data
this is the
podcast
yes, this
15
is
bucket. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
this is a granular permission. You are allowing a put object into this bucket. Clear.
Exactly,
Good.
exactly. So we created our rule. We made sure that our permission
Hmm.
actually was correctly created. So now all we have to do is send new MQTT messages
Yes.
and see if they are being stored in S3. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's run our code again, our node code, and let's send a few messages through our IoT devices. So we can see there was a message sent by device 2, and then another one sent by device 4.
Hmm.
Let's send another one from device 4. I think that's enough. We can go back over here and we can check the content of our S3
Yes.
bucket that we just created, just to see if there are actually three JSON files
Files, JSON files, right?
that are in the bucket. So it was IoT podcast 15 bucket.
The
So
last,
let's click
yes.
here,
And
and we
here,
actually have three
this
JSON
is amazing.
files.
This is
So
amazing. Yeah, we
we can
have
see
our
that it actually worked, and we are over here in our
yes.
scenario.
Yeah, this is amazing. So
Exactly.
actually, we are in we have
In the
two
first part,
services left. Yeah,
yeah, so
and
in the first part, we would end with S3 bucket, so which is what we
yes.
just did. In the next part, this put that just took place, that just happened,
Okay.
will be triggering a Lambda function that will store the data in
Thank
DynamoDB.
yes. Thank you, Malek.
And
Just
that will be presented in the next
let's
podcast.
summarize in a few words this trip of our data stream. You created an IoT, virtual IoT, which streamed payload data through MQTT messages, lightweight message to IoT Core, which yes, they were displayed there. Then we created through message routing a rule which dispatches the data to S3. We query the data, we select them all, and we store them as JSON files within an S3 bucket.
Bucket.
Thank
Exactly,
you,
that's what
Malek,
we
for
did.
this. This
Thank
is part
you.
one.
Definitely, we'll see you guys in the next part. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank
And yeah, thank you.